Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't have an actual name. I'm just the P90X guy.
That's yes.
I walk through an airport and I go, "You're the P90X guy." I'm also Tony Horton. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, man. Great to be here, dude. I'm really excited. I'm pumped.
I'm excited too. And one of the things, with all the people I bring on, I'll try to get to know a little bit about the person before the person became the person. So can we go back in time a little bit to before you were Tony Horton? I'm kidding. Before you were the P90X guy, what did you do prior? And don't leave out any of the nitty gritties because people love that stuff.
Oh, I got nitty. I got gritty, man. I came out to Cali in 1980, after I didn't graduate from the University of Rhode Island. I was still about 4 or 6 credits short or something. I came out here for a summer vacation, and I just fell in love with the culture instantly. In Connecticut, Rhode Island, it's a more conservative, cold. I do miss the 4 seasons though, but it's just amazing. We moved down to Huntington Beach area, and it was just, we were going to clubs, and I didn't have a job. I came across the country, but I left Connecticut with $400, and I ran out of money in Boulder, Colorado. But I was a trained pantomime, right? And I was a street performer. I did a lot of jobs, but I was a street performer. And so, I made sure that I packed my makeup and my little outfit and everything else. And in Boulder, I made about $125 in a day, which was incredible because I left with 400. Like, can you imagine $400? I couldn't have got to New Jersey right now. And so we ended up in Huntington Beach, and we were sleeping on my buddy's sister's floor. And the only way I fed myself was more mime. I would go down to whatever pier, Huntington Pier or whatever, and I'd make $25 and live on that for like 4 or 5 days. And I was also a carpenter and a handyman, and I was a assistant manager at the Oak Tree Men's Store. Every goofy job you can imagine. And I had a certain amount of skills. I made furniture for myself because we had this little apartment where we didn't have any furniture, so I would make little things out of crates and stuff. And we painted houses, and that was just kind of what we did when we first came out here. And I was very fortunate that I entered a talent show in Huntington Beach, where first prize was $750, second prize was $500, third prize was I think $150, and I won. So and then I guess I have $750. And my mother's like, "Time to come home." I go, "I have $750. I'm going to have like a down payment on an apartment." And it's like, "No, what are you doing? I'll come. Let me just one more semester, And then the guy who won second prize was a banjo player, and he heard my sad story at the bar, and he gave me he was a millionaire. I guess he was just a real estate millionaire or something. And he got up there and played his banjo. So I had the 750 plus the 500. I was like, "Man, I'm going to live out here for 10 years on this, and
wait, Tony, what year was this? Just so I can put
1980.
1980. Okay. So in 1980, money went a little further.
Yeah.
Oh, so, I was born. Sure. I was born in 77. I'm older than I look.
Oh, look at that, man.
Look at that.
Same year my wife was born. couldn't have dated my wife in high school. Would have been weird. Because she would be 1. So
that would have been
anyway,
weird.
yeah, man. So we moved into this apartment. We had no furniture. So we would go through the alleys, and just find, oh, here's a mattress. We spray Lysol on it. And that, who knows where that thing was, and couches. And we just, we lived this crazy fun life. And then, we moved up closer to LA, because I wanted to be an actor. So I wanted to get an agent, and I finally got one. And then I really that's when I fell in love with the fitness culture. I was just, there were gyms in every corner. Back in the East Coast, there just weren't. They were at the college, they were at the university or at the high school. But wow, there's like, what's aerobics? It's all women. Can I go in there? Yes, yeah. I did, And I was working out with Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger at World Gym. And just, I had a friend of mine who was sort of a track athlete. So I was going to the Santa Monica track and running on the track. And it's a 365 kind of lifestyle. And, you're out the beach playing volleyball in the morning. And then that afternoon, you go up to the local mountains and you play skiing. It was just, this place is insane, So, and that was it. But in between all that, whatever, I was a go-go dancer at Chippendales because, that's a gig. But it was all hand to mouth, you know what I mean? And I waited tables at the Bel Air Country Club. Waiting tables was what I did on the East Coast when I was in college, and I was pretty good at that. And it was just an easy thing to do. And you're living on your tips. But I even had a job with this company where I'd go out to Vegas, and I'd be a statue at a buffet. You know what I mean?
So you would just stand there and not move the entire time. You still got it, man. You still got it.
Yeah. And during the Oscars, I would, the Oscar, the statue,
Yeah.
I would squeeze myself in because I kind of built, you know what I mean? Still am. And you'd stand there, right? You just stand there on the end of a stage and there'd be going, whatever presentation. And you're just standing there and there'd be another guy on the other end. And, whatever. And the goal was for the first half hour, you weren't allowed to move. And then people would start to mingle and they're going through buffet and you'd go, it moved, I swear, Sally, it moved, and then you're just doing little dances up and then going back to the statue thing. I mean, whatever, man, you're just trying to feed yourself. And when I ran out of money, I mean, this happened often and I didn't want to do mime because mime was the last thing I wanted to do. But I had literally at times wouldn't eat for like a day and go, I got to put the mime makeup on. I got to go down to the pier. And you're just like, when you're performing, right, to eat, it sucks because you're just looking at the hat, waiting for oh, how much is that? How much is that? And then I would run to the local liquor store and I would live on Cheerios and yogurt for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 days. I mean, wow. But you're 21, 22, it didn't matter,
Heck no.
Those were the days, my friend, and we're glad they came to an end.
Yeah. And, I think you can ask anybody about those years, at least most people, and that is that money wasn't the driving force. It was just the experience of everything. I remember around that age, I was a pro snowboarder, really didn't have much of anything. Everything I did was just to support that habit, that goal. And gosh, sleeping on floors and sleeping on couches wherever I could, that was the best possible thing that could happen. I loved every moment of it, just like you just described. I mean, there were things we had to do too. Like when we didn't want to, we would have to do it, but it all worked out in the end. So where was it that you went from this lifestyle of all right, now I got to put this suit on and I got to go out there and do your thing. I obviously don't do that very well, but then all of a sudden,
crushed it, Chris. That was
thanks,
man.
It
looked like a wall made out of Play-Doh, but fine.
That's all right, man. I like to think of myself as a quick learner here. So I saw it, I mimicked it, I mastered it.
It's good. It was like the inside of a piece of bubble gum is what that was. Oh, there it is. Hey, but the big switcheroo came from when I was a waiter at the Bel Air Country Club, and a friend of mine was working for Julia Phillips. Julia Phillips and John Phillips were producers for movies. They did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Taxi Driver with De Niro, and then The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
Great movies.
And she was kind of a big wig. Her and her husband got a divorce after all that, and then she was off on her own trying to make movies over at 20th Century Fox over on Pico Boulevard here in LA. And a friend of mine was a UCLA student, this guy, John Perpich. And, that was his first gig. I mean, he was just running around town, delivering scripts and hiding the pot or whatever they were doing, or, cleaning the pool. He was just, it's a classic PA gig. Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting tables and he's doing that. And at one point he had an introduction to Dolly Parton. He's a very talented writer, and he started writing for Dolly, which is really cool. So I got to meet Dolly and hung out with Dolly, which was that was an amazing period in her life. Just one of the most spectacular human beings on this earth. True, like everything you see about Dolly Parton is all true. She lent me $1,000 twice.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea, man. And then I got his gig. I mean, he introduced me to this guy, Harlan Goodman, and Harlan and Julia were trying to make movies. And Harlan used to be a music guy. And he represented Billy Idol and Tom Petty. He worked for a company called East End Management back in the day on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And so, now I was the guy who was hiding the pot and changing the light bulbs and delivering the scripts and making the coffee and doing all that kind of stuff. And it was brutal. I got fired almost every Friday and rehired every Sunday night because she was a crazy person. Tony, the light at the bottom of the driveway is out. You're fired. Like, wow, I'll run down and fix it. And then Harlan would go, you're fine, dude. But at that time, yeah, come, you're not gonna fire you, man. And at that time, I had an agent, you know what I mean? And I remember watching Johnny Carson as a kid going like, these actors would talk about their agents, and I have one. And like my agent was like working out of her garage. She didn't even nobody knew who she was, but she said, and I was not really working out then at that point. I mean, if I would play hoop or softball or whatever. But I wasn't really training, and I got a little pudgy, and I was drinking a lot of beer and eating a lot of pizza, double cheese chimichangas. I didn't know better. I was in Cali. I'm going to just take advantage of everything. And she said, hey, you gotta, if you want more work, you gotta shape up, buddy. And so, so I did, and I joined, I was one of the first joint gyms I joined. And, like I said, I fell in love with that culture. And then Harlan noticed, he's like, dude, I'm noticing you changing. You look great. And I said, yeah, my agent said, and that was the cool thing about the job. They would let me go on my auditions and stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm just, my agent said I got to do it. He goes, well, can you help me? Because Harlan was about 40 pounds overweight. Mm-hmm. And I go, I'm not a trainer. He goes, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm just doing X, Y, and Z. I'm just, going to the gym, lifting weights and doing some cardio. Well, make me do that. And so before we both went to work, I was training Harlan in Jonathan's new gym because he was getting paid really well by Dolly Parton. You know what I mean? It's like, this is weird. So, and then, I kept doing that. I kept doing mine, kept doing the statues in Vegas. I was whatever I could do to make money. And Harlan was changing, and he was losing the weight, looking really good. And it turned out that the two of them couldn't make a movie to save their life. It was just, it's just hard. And he, so he kind of went back to East End Management with his tail between his legs. And I had like 2 or 3 more clients, and I didn't want to work for her anymore without Harlan because he was my buffer. Because you
get fired every Friday.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And nobody would be there to hire you back if he wasn't there.
That's right. Where's no phone call. So we both kind of we both kind of snuck away. He went back to East End, and I was training people and doing all my other odd jobs. And then apparently at one point when he was at East End Management, Tom Petty was walking in the hallway, and Tom saw Harlan. He said, hey, Harlan, you look great. Holy cow. You look like you lost like 30 pounds. Harlan, I lost 25. I lost 35 pounds. Well, I'm going on tour, and this is my Tom Petty, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm here all week.
It's actually really good.
Tom's from Gainesville, Florida, and I trained Tom for 32 years. So at one point, Harlan says to go call Tony Horton. He's the reason why I lost weight. And I wasn't certified, didn't know what I was doing. I was training Harlan and a couple of people on the lot, some secretaries and stuff. So the phone rings at my apartment, 1438 15th Street, Santa Monica. And my roommate, Bob, who was the one that dragged me out to California, picked up the phone and, hey, it's Tom Petty. I'm looking for Tony Horton. So Bob goes, dude, I think it's JP downstairs screwing around. I go, hang up. Click, right? So
oh, no.
Bob hung up on Petty. I write about it in my book, phone rings again. Hey, I think we got disconnected. Bob goes, dude, I think give me the phone. JP, what are you doing? It's time. My name is Tom Petty, my friend to Harlan Goodman. Dude, it's Tom Petty. So I go to his house the next day, and and he's smoking a cigarette. Hey, I'm probably not supposed to be smoking, but don't make me stop smoking. All right. So I go, whatever, man, do what you got to do. And I got him a life cycle. I got him a bench. I got him a mat. I got him a bunch of dumbbells. I got him a heavy bag. I thought that would be really great for his, just something interesting other than sitting on a bike. 4 months later, he was shredded. He was ripped, and he went off on tour, and his voice was amazing, and his stamina was amazing, and everybody's like, oh. And he's wearing tank tops, which he never did before, and leather vests without shirts. Is like, people like, Tom Petty's shredded. So that's
what year was this? Because I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, and I've watched most of those videos, and he was ripped. He was so lean, like the dude just looked like he ran marathons. What year?
Well, he's an ectomorph, right? Like me, a naturally skinny kid, skinny guy. And so this was 80, 86, 87.
The prime.
Yeah. And he was still at that, the peak of his career. And so, East End Management, like, hey, can you work with some of our other clients? So, right, mate, it's Billy Oil there. What I thought you'd do a bit to Tom Petty, mate. Can you do it for me? That's my Tom. Any English accent will be Billy Idol. And then, then it just grew from there, and then all of a sudden I had to run around. I had to get certified. I think, I better know what the hell I'm doing, which I did. I was just a quick study. I had sort of the Abraham Lincoln approach to fitness. I just was like, and I was a member of 4 different gyms. So I was like, oh, what are they doing? And I would just sit and watch Arnold and Lou Ferrigno at World Gym, and 700 sets of chest seems extreme, but okay. It's like,
hey, listen, like, I'm not even like discounting that as what something that's
no,
probably
but it would be like
what they
30,
did.
like they were like incline, flat bench, flies, cables, like it'd be like 30 sets of chest. Right. I mean, I wouldn't do that with any of my clients because they didn't have quite the attention span. But, and then it was, the rundown was I had Billy in the morning when Bruce Springsteen was in town, and Annie Lennox lived around the corner from Tom, it was Billy Idol, Tom Petty, Annie Lennox, Stephen Stills from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Stevie Nicks, had the Stevies, and then Bruce would be, I'd squeeze him in there, plus other clients. I had a lot of like people who were working at Fox and producers and directors and stuff. I mean, it literally up in the dark at 4:30, my first client, Sandra Roosh, in her garage, freezing, right? Garage, even in LA in the morning at that hour, it's cold. It's cold. And then, and then I would eat a power bar, and then I would go to her sister's house, and then I would go to, and then, Billy was my third client at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then I had, Annie in Woodland Hills, and then Tom around the corner. And then when Bruce was in town, hey, Tony, we're going to do, it's my Bruce. What do you think? Anyway. And it was great, man. It was, and I didn't have to do mime at the pier anymore. And I didn't have to sell, I'd have to be wait tables. I still would tend bar once in a while because those were always pretty good gigs, good tips and stuff. And that went on and on and on. And then I was in scene study classes and cold reading classes. And then I was with Second City LA for a while. Did a fabulous Columbo. I got to tell you, my Columbo is just like my Springsteen, not much different. And then I did stand up for a couple of years. At least I tried. I just thought I was the funniest guy in the world. And a lot of my writing partners would say, you're not always funny, but you're very confident up there.
Hey, listen, most comedians are just that, confident.
Yeah. Like I'm going to talk. Okay. You just sit down, shut up, listen to me. All right. And I did really outrageous stuff. My stuff was not all of it. I mean, I did some silly bits, but I was very animated. I was very physical on stage. So, I can't even tell you the one bit I would finish with. The police would knock on my door right now if I told you what I did, but it was fun. Those were the fun years of hanging out with actors and comics and improv actors and training celebrities. But I was still broke. I was still $60,000 in debt I had two cars because I had a 66 Mustang with the engine of the drivetrain of something went or the brakes. And then I had a 84 Land Cruiser, which was also like, oh, geez. It's like, we're turning, like these two crappy cars.
You would have never needed P90X if you kept that truck. That thing would have kept your upper body so strong.
God dang it. Power steering, and its maximum speed was 52 miles an hour, like foot pedal to go. I think it was like a 2-cylinder car. It was just crap, but it looked cool. Both cars looked cool. And that was all about that. You know what I mean? And so that was all what was happening. And then, then the serendipitous thing happened to me. My life changed, in the midst of all that.
It's crazy because how that whole story feeds and, you hear it all the time. Your network is your net worth. And it's just like, you just got one and then another and another and another. I mean, and just back then, like they were legends then, but now today, I mean, that's just, those names are names that will live on forever as the greatest. And you trained them all.
I was keeping rock and roll from the 60s and 70s alive. You're welcome. Okay?
Yes, you sure were.
and this is all pre-internet, all pre-phones. I mean, the only picture I have pictures with Billy Idol. It was the only celebrity I ever took pictures with. I never asked. Actually, Tom would sign stuff for me all the time, and I have some amazing posters that he had at his house. From the Fillmore, the Fillmore Theater up in San Francisco, these unbelievable pieces of art. He goes, yeah, I got like 10 of them. You want them? And it's like, yeah, will you sign them all? Sure, I'll sign them all. And they're all in my theater in my house here. They're like, boom, 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 boom. They're just spectacular. And so, but yeah, I mean, there's no evidence that I've ever really been with anybody, you know what I mean? Except for Billy, but, and the signed stuff from Tom. But like Annie Lennox was one of the most spectacular human beings I've ever met. Just fascinating, really smart, incredible lady. And then Tom would go, because she was dating from the Eurythmics, what's his name, Stewart, and they had broken up. She was kind of distraught. And she'd always invite me for breakfast and go for these walks in her property afterward. It's like, Annie Lennox wants to go for a walk and have breakfast, right? So that's cool. And I go to Tom's house. I go, oh, he goes, you're a little bit late. What's going on? Well, I was with Annie and we were having breakfast, and I think she likes you, man. I go, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go date Annie Lennox, like not a shot. So these stories, like, the Billy Idol stories, I mean, dude, they are spectacular. I mean, just the stuff that he would say, the stuff that he would do, the routine that we had, I'll have to wait for them all to die before I can write the book. But I went on a ski trip with Steven Stills. Like, wow. It's just.
Where was the trip to?
Whistler Blackcomb.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I mean, you were a professional snowboarder. We're gonna have that conversation.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm a skier since I was 5. I don't know if you know the names like Delorier's and those folks and Egan brothers, Dan and John Egan. They were all in the early Warren Miller movies back in the day in the 80s.
I've probably seen them in Warren's movies. I just, because I was on the snowboard side back in those early days, it was kind of like, oil and water skiing.
Yeah. They didn't mix back then.
Not then. Now they do, but back then it didn't.
Yeah. We'll have to make some turns one day, my friend.
Well, let's make sure we do that. One thing that I was thinking about as you're telling that story of 445 and the next one and the next one, like California is not exactly an easy place to get around quickly. Like what kind of stress was that on you to try to make it on time to all those appointments? Well, did everybody live in the same neighborhood?
No, dude. No. Like I was always in Santa Monica early on. I live in Brentwood area now, the Brentwood Hills, Mandeville Canyon. Yeah. And so, but I was in Santa Monica, which is kind of, central-ish. But my first ones were Culver City, near the studio. Bruce lived up in Beverly Hills. Billy lived in Hollywood, in the Hollywood Hills, right above the Hollywood Bowl. Tom lived in Woodland Hills initially, but then, he went through a divorce with Jane and he met a new gal. And then he moved way up to Malibu. So, so if it was Culver City, it was Hollywood, it was Malibu. And that's why I had 2 cars, because they would always break down because I'm just driving all over the city. But after a while, I figured it out and I got the timing down. I knew how long it was going to take. And most of them were pretty forgiving on that because they knew where I would be going.
Good. That's good. So then you had your big break. Like, was it something you pioneered and got the idea because you're doing all this? You got the credibility, you got the reputation. Like, how did this break happen? A lot of people go their whole lives without catching that break. Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, man, I was when I was in college, I was beginning to be introduced to personal development, right? Because I didn't, was reading, writing, and arithmetic and trying not to fail at those. And I remember reading, looking out for number 1. I forget the name of that was the name of the book. And the next one was your erroneous zones. And I was getting all this amazing intel about how to improve my life. When it came to relationships, when it came to finances, when it came to my career. One of my favorite book is Keith Ellis's book, The Magic Lamp, which was a big influence on me. Basically teaching me how to figure out who I am and what I'm supposed to be. What is my raison d'etre, as the French would say, and so, and I mean, I was acting, right? So I thought, oh, I'm going to be an actor. I mean, this fitness gig, it's cool and I love it and it's decent bread, but that's why I was doing the scene study and acting classes. Daryl Hickman and Brian Reese and all these great coaches here in the city. Ivor Francis was Jeannie Francis's dad. I was taking classes from him, and loving it. And then the improv was just a blast. I wanted to be Steve Martin. I wanted to be Jim Carrey. I wanted to do all that. And so here I was, training people, and here I was pursuing my acting career and reading a lot of personal development because I was a miserable son of a bitch, really. Even though all that stuff seems really cool. I'm alone in my apartment and I'm 60 grand in debt and I got 2 broken down cars and I have a view of a convalescent home. And the way things are going, I'm going to go down my stairs and across the alley and I'm going to go right into that convalescent home. Is that wheelchair for me? Fantastic. I'll have a seat. You know what I mean? What's your name? Is it oatmeal again? So, but, because of the personal development, one of the cool things, one of the books, there was this little lesson at the end of the chapter. So you read the chapter and you go, okay, either, a lot of times I would skip them because they were stupid. I thought one of them was, here's your opportunity to go out of your way and do something really extraordinary for somebody that you don't like, somebody that you're in conflict with, somebody that you're not getting along with, you know what I mean? And don't be attached to that outcome because they might think you're crazy or they'll think you're up to no good or something, but just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's just getting you outside of your comfort zone. Because, I thought, oh, gee, I don't even do nice things for people I like. So this is going to suck. And on Saturdays at that time, I was playing hoop with a bunch of lawyers. And so it was like half hoop, half arguing, but whatever. That was just because they're lawyers.
That just comes with the territory.
That's a foul. No, it wasn't. Wait a minute. Time out. Oh, crap. Can't we just play? And there was this one guy, his name is Ben. I won't tell you his last name. He's kind of a known person amongst certain circles. And he just thought I was a wise guy, bonehead, which I was. And I thought he was an arrogant rich guy, which I think he kind of was. And between games, and we happened to be on the same team, and we happened to win a game. And so it was like, ah, nice job, good job, nice pass, whatever. And so he was about 35 pounds overweight, and he was kind of complaining, you know what I mean? Oh man, I would enjoy this game so much more if I could lose some weight. And I'm thinking, go out of your way and do something nice. So I offered to train the guy, assuming he'd say no. You know what I mean? And I said, hey, Bob, I mean, I train to Billy Idol and Tom Petty. And he goes, oh, yeah, who else you got? Springsteen? Yeah, you even knew that? And he goes, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, crap. So literally, we talked later that afternoon. He was at my house the following Monday. And now I had this new client. And I happened to have an opening at that hour, which was kind of amazing, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And so we discovered that we were a lot alike. Which is always the case when you have
the
somebody
one person you didn't like, and then you find out you're a lot alike.
We have a lot in common, and we got along great. He was brilliant. I mean, he was a brilliant guy. He was a very successful attorney and CEO of this company called Guthrie Renker. And a year later, he was recruiting people for jobs over at the company he worked for. And he recruited this guy out of Philly. His name was Carl Deichler. And he goes, you got to meet this guy, Carl. He's nuts and funny and animated and talented, and you guys would get along. So he started inviting Carl to come to the morning workouts, and so like, am I gonna get paid for two of you? Which I didn't, but fine. Anyway, Carl worked for him, and he did this couple infomercials for Ben, and then Carl just loved fitness. He, back in Philly, he did an infomercial called 8-Minute Abs, which was famous.
I remember that. Oh yeah, it was super famous.
And then he went to Ben. He goes, can I do infomercials that aren't about pantyhose anymore? Can I do something in fitness? And Ben said, sure, so I want to use Tony. I go, okay, great. And so we did this thing called Great Body Guaranteed. And he paid me $2,000, which was like, wow. I mean, that was good bread out of the box for working a couple of days. And no royalties, no lawyers, nothing, just here's some money. And it did well, which was weird. Like everybody at Guthrie Renker, the company they worked for, was like, whoa, look at this kid. He's pretty good. I mean, 8-Minute Abs wasn't a one-off, And so he said, hey, look, we got people who are interested and they want to invest some more money. And I want you to be my guy for this next project. And I want to what do you do with Petty and Idol and Springsteen and these guys? Like, can we recreate that in front of people's television without all the extra stuff? And I said, sure. Right. And so we did this thing called Power 90. And Power 90 was before P90X. Some people know we sold about 4 or 5 million copies, and I had royalties and I had attorney. And when you got a Lowenbrow commercial or whatever, you get your royalty check and it's like, oh, it's $85. Okay. And then this thing, it kind of blew up. It didn't blow up. P90X blew up, but you get a check and you go, that's $7,000, $7,000. I mean, like, what's happening? And then it kept going from there. 7, 8, 9, 12, 15, like, Jesus, man, oh man. So they said, hey, Tony, move away from there. Uptown is the place you ought to be. So I loaded up the truck and the Mustang, and I moved to a beautiful home in Santa Monica with a view of the mountains and the Hollywood sign. And I had a gym in the back, and it was crazy. It's like, wow. I bought a nice car. I got rid of the 2 crappy cars. And it was literally, to some people, an overnight success. I remember people who were training at my apartment in Santa Monica, this little tiny box, and they would come to this home and they'd go, gee, this is like a cartoon upgrade, pal. Like, wow, and then we'd sign a contract, like a 5-year contract, and another one. Then we did P90X. And, that was the biggest thing since sliced bread. And
I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know that. And if they don't, they're living under a rock.
Yeah. I mean, I still run into people today, over and over, and people are still doing it. I still get royalty checks, and they're from all the things I've done with them. But it was just a freak show. And then I got introduced to folks in Washington, and I've been to 60 military bases around the world. I've jumped out of a, Chinook with the Golden Knights. I've threw up inside an F-15C in Okinawa, Japan. I've flown with the Thunderbirds. I've the first lady and the president and the Obamas were using it, and I met them both, and it was a wild ride.
Wow.
Really incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. It was a 20-year thing, and then that relationship had to come to an end because they just, to be perfectly honest, they just weren't, I didn't feel appreciated anymore after everything I'd done. So, especially when the contract came around, I was like,
oh, I
wait
bet.
a minute, you're paying me what now? I'm gone, man. And kind of a Tom Brady thing, like, I'll show you, and now we're, here I am. It's been 4 years since that, and we're on a new stage with And now I have basically 4 jobs as opposed to 1, which means I'm working 4 times as much. But,
is that the power of 4? Is that where the 4 comes from?
Oh, well, funny you should bring that up. Yeah, I mean, everybody wanted, we did P90X, we did P90X2, which was P90X harder than P90X3, which was a 30-minute version. And they all did really, really well. And then, and then the next one would have been a P90X4. Hello. But it wasn't like the 4 in the power of 4 had anything to do with that. It was just that there were these 4 philosophies, these 4 basic pillars to my lifestyle: exercise, nutrition, supplementation, and mindfulness. If I do it in that right order, I'm fine.
All right, we nailed it.
Yeah. There you go.
And that's Power Nation.
Well, yeah, we became power. So what happened was, we thought, hey, there's a pandemic now, and everything was kind of shut down, and I'm one of these person, and my wife was certainly a tremendous contributor, and we had people kind of knocked on our door. Hey, what are you going to do during the pandemic? We've done P90X 85 times. Do you have anything in mind? And so we just kind of came up with these beta sequences and routines, and we just went online and said, hey, I know it's tough, everybody, but we're going to shoot some routines, and there'll be something different for you. And then we shot one and another, and then we started building a package, and then more and more people were signing up via Instagram and Facebook, and we had a Facebook page and stuff, and we had about anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people that stuck with this thing over the course of 15 months, and then we thought, well, we should probably just, and these were all shot on phones, or we would bring somebody in, and everybody's wearing masks. So it's like, okay, we're going to do some crunches. It's because I'm bringing people into my home, and it was like scary time, right? And we had known people who got crazy sick, but we said, hey, man, we got to hunker down and do this stuff. And I'd have, a lot of the old crew in the house, and we'd shoot them. And the audio was terrible, and the video was terrible. But people are like, thank you for giving us something new, And so I just sit here right in this room, man. I go, and I create these routines. And there ended up being 47 routines in all. And so I could mix and match. So every 3 months, I'd come up with a new sequence and another sequence. And we would always be filming new routines. So it's like, oh, hey, we're going to get rid of this old one because you can't hear us or see us. So we're going to change it a little bit. And then we launched on January 1 of this year. So that's where we are. And so Power Nation, the power of 4, is full tilt. If people are interested, you can go to powernationfitness.org and sign up. It's a great community of people. There's a Facebook page where a lot of people are in there kind of communicating and sharing stuff. Yeah, so it's been an amazing ride. And then we have a premium, and there's and then we have a platinum VIP, which means you can basically come to my house and live here, for free. That's what the platinum is. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but we want to give people different levels with different incomes, with different levels of content. And we're plugging along. Here it is, halfway through February, when you and I are having our conversation. And the cool thing is that the company that make my supplements, the folks over there at Golden Hippo, the supplements are called Power Life. They're watching the growth of this thing, and like, hey, since you're talking about these products that we're making together, we want to help you with media and help you kind of, share the love. So that's that. I actually had the conversation right before I was talking to you. So it's awesome, man. And it's just, and then these people some of them are coming to my house on Wednesday nights for plyo, and
that's really cool that you still do that. That right there sets you apart, because like you've reached this level, but yet you're still doing it where people are coming to your house like they came to your little box apartment. Wild, man. I love it. And
I don't charge them anything. I got to work. Hey, it's plyo. I like doing plyo as much as I like eating glass. So how about you come to my house and force me to do it, And every one of my workouts, and I schedule almost 6 or 7 a week, are former, customers. These are my friends. You meet amazing people that way, you really do. And so it's been really cool that way, having these folks over and getting to know them. And they're people that are committed, and they help me be consistent. You know what I mean? Without them, I'd probably work out 3 days a week and be on the chubby side. Who knows? I find that too. I always work out with a trainer, and then sometimes I go off the trainer and I find myself slipping. Even though I'm very regimented, I still slip. Kind of like what you just said. I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I'm like, man, I'm just weak. I'm weak. Come on, get with it. But you sometimes need that accountability of just somebody else just saying, nope, you got to be there. We're showing up. And that gets you a long way. And they push me, and they're getting stronger than me, which sucks. But that's, like these people would come up here and they'd be complete neophytes and, you know, like really struggling. And we're doing 4-ball push-ups or going on my pegboard or one of my 2 ropes. And you know, like, oh, wow, I wonder if they'll stick around. I wonder if they'll keep, and they just keep coming and they keep getting better. And then they get better than me. And they'll look at me and go, how many reps do you do there, Tony? 25. I'll be doing 30.
The student becomes the teacher.
And it's awesome.
That.
And it pushes me and I love it. My ego is huge, but it's not so out of control that I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
I love it. And you know, the cool thing about your story going all the way back, you know, is you've kept reinventing yourself. In the beginning, maybe it was somebody nudging you, but then all of a sudden you were like, hey, listen, I got to take back control of all of this. Hence, you know, the Power of 4 and your new thing, Power Nation. But you've done so much. You've written, what have we got? 4 books, or am I missing a few?
3 books. I've been on stage with Brendan Bouchard, right? Brendan Bouchard's a pretty well-known and I've done a ton of things with Beachbody, obviously, and a lot of stuff, you know, with the military. When you've been to 63 military bases, you're always up on stage, not only doing the workouts routines, but also, you know, some kind of a opening motivational thing. And
oh, you're just funny, man. You're animated. It just gets people going. And the only other person I've ever seen that kind of has that well, there's a lot of people, but that I really enjoyed was Jesse Itzler. He happens to be in, you know, fitness as well, but he was wild on stage. And I would just think that you'd be absolutely entertaining to watch. And obviously, because they wouldn't keep bringing you back.
That's the improv comedy stuff, you know, because, you know, here you are telling people to eat right and exercise, which is like 2 things they don't really want to do. And so you got to sort of, you know, you got to be animated. Yeah. And it's the number one reason probably why P90X and all my other stuff is pretty popular. Because I give people options, like here's a hard version, here's an easy version, here's an opportunity for you to stop in the middle. You know, here's a day you take today off. Hey, I know we're here for yoga. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? You can just shut me right off and go for a walk. And so, you know, and it's the humor thing. I mean, I'm built that way. I had a speech impediment as a kid. It was pretty bad. It was called cluttering, and humor was the only thing that helped me survive that period of my life where I was getting beat up all the time and made fun of. And you know, I mean, I was a weak kid and not a great student. And I had ADD, ADHD, LMNOP, NYPD Blue. I had all the acronyms, you know, as a child. And, you know, I was just and it was mostly because I ate a lot of sugar. I love me that sugar.
Oh, they didn't help sugar down our throats, man. That's
man.
Especially growing up around, you know, like the earlier years, man, sugar was actually viewed as, I think, something that was supposed to be good for us. They just shoved it in everything.
It's pure energy. You know,
Kool-Aid, you know, that was God.
Yeah. You Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean? Terrible.
Absolutely. Gosh,
what did I know?
We did grow up on a lot of sugar. That was an insane period. So with all this and all this success, you know, I bring a lot of people on and I always ask why. What is your destination? You know, I know you've done so much and I know you're on to a new thing, but like, what is your final destination, or do you even have one?
Well, you know, I love what I do. Right. Because I get to help people feel better and look better and have more energy and more enthusiasm for things maybe they've never tried before, which gives them a spectacular life. And I've given myself a spectacular life. Not to say that there aren't tough days, because there are. But so I don't know. I'm going to keep going. I mean, you know, look, I work for Tonal now, and, you know, Tonal is this amazing piece of equipment out of the future. It's like something that should have been invented in 2050, but it's way ahead of its time. It's a great organization. I've got the top program and some of the top workouts on that platform. And, you know, it's another opportunity for me to kind of, you know, be on stage and, you know, with the lights and the cameras and the director and the thing, and just get up there and, hey, everybody, it's time to get going. Let's go. We're going to work our arms today. They're going to be gorgeous. Let's do it. You know what I mean? And that it's like I can free form. There's a pattern there. So that I love. And I, you know, hope they keep me around. And then the supplement line, Power Life. It's just been an amazing, you know, the protein powders, the science behind what we created. I got really sick in 2017, and they helped bring me back with this one product called Foundation 4 that basically helped heal my leaky gut. And then the protein powders are tippity top. You know what I mean? You can go to mypowerlife.com and check them out. They're really spectacular. They're able to keep a 63-year-old super strong and keeping my muscle mass on. It's really a combination between this HMB and vitamin D3.
And those are vegan as well, correct? Or
there's vegan and there's also whey, right? We're trying to cater to everybody.
Sure.
And so I, you know, Tonal, I'm going to keep working. Power Life, you know, my contract just got extended and I want to just keep working. I mean, in 63, 4, 5, I don't know. And the Power of 4, you know, we're just going to keep plugging along here and hope more people sign up. And then, public speaking, now that kind of COVID has calmed down, more and more people are calling me up to say, hey, can you come and inspire and motivate our folks at whatever company or whatever community? And I want to do that again. But I think, in the end, I want to cut back on a lot of it. Hopefully enough money is saved. And my wife and I want to move to Wyoming. And we have a place in Jackson Hole.
Beautiful.
I just want to be sitting there in a rocker, you know what I mean? After like a 2.5 hour workout of chest and back and arms and legs and knuckles and kneecaps. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be on my thing, and like 20 acres, be nice, right? And then there's a stream going through the property, be pretty cool.
Man.
And a little pond, right? So I got my ice skates on, and my wife is on a horse and running on a horse. Of
course. I mean, Wyoming, how can you not have a horse?
Yeah, you got to have a horse. So she'll be on the horse in the snow, and I'll be there ice skating, and you know what I mean? It's been a fun ride. I got a great partner in my wife, Shauna, and she makes me laugh. I make her laugh. And then between we go to work and we work out and we help other people change their lives. It's magical. It truly is. Really is.
Tony, that was an awesome story. One that I wasn't, we talked a little offline, but I wasn't prepared for that. That was wild. And I just love like the humble beginnings to like the break to then just crushing it. And that's exactly what you've done. Now, last question I have for you on this amazing journey that you've been on. What's been the biggest internal obstacle that you've had to face this whole time?
Me. You know what I mean? Because the apple don't fall far from the tree. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of insecurity in my past. There's all, the speech impediment certainly didn't help, sort of overcoming that. Knowing that everything's going to be okay in the end. I still fret. I'm a fretter about things, because there's so much at stake. There's so much, there's so many lawyers now, you know what I mean? Which all that, it was so simple then. You just get up, you go train some people, you have some laughs. Hopefully you don't hurt anybody. You hope your 66 Mustang doesn't break down on the PCH. And then then you go have some beers with your buddies and watch the ball game. It was really pretty simple, pretty amazing then. And you think you're going to live forever, and it's just more complicated now. And so we're in all the intensity and difficulty of, I have a fitness equipment thing too, that TH Fitness, which you can go to TonyHortonLife.com and buy my power stands, you know what I mean? So, and my mats and my dumbbells and all my other good jump ropes and stability balls and med balls. And so there's just a lot of, there's a lot of balls in the air. You know what I mean? And the most difficult thing is keeping them in the air without stressing me out. So I end up with Ramsey Hunt syndrome again, which is what I did in October 2017. When Tom Petty died, and I had friends that were at that Vegas shooting who witnessed that insanity. And then like that same week, I was like, oh, I guess I don't work for Beachbody anymore. It was like, whew. And I got deathly ill, and I got shingles in my ear, and it affected my vision, my taste, my smell, my balance. I couldn't get out of bed for 3 months. I was vomiting all day. It was just like, boo, this sucks. You know what I mean? And so I'm working really hard through mindfulness practices and meditation and laughter.
Lots of laughter
to keep myself from burning out again. You know what I mean? But it's the exercise, the nutrition, the supplementation, and mindfulness, all 4 in a row. That I try to walk the walk, man. And that seems to work. It keeps me doing all right,
Well, you're killing it, man. Keep doing it. And I really appreciate you coming on here. We'll put, for all of you listening to this, all the links will be in the description. So make sure you check those out, get on there, get plugged in. Stop making excuses, folks. Like, excuses get you nowhere. Action is what actually makes it work. So Tony, thank you for your time and all that you do for so many people. For all of the rest of you, go out there, kick some ass, and take some action. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Chris. See you, man.
See you, man. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well.